I want to turn your attention back to the 6th chapter of Galatians. And I want to read once again a couple of verses. Let me start at verse 1. Brethren, if a man or a woman is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. Skip down to verse 7. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that will he also reap. For he who sows to his flesh, of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not grow weary while doing good. For in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Don't run from your restoration. Don't run from your restoration. Will you allow me to be transparent this morning? I guess you will, because y'all ain't saying much of nothing. Yesterday, family and I went by the gravesite of my aunt who passed away about 8 years ago. Yesterday was her birthday. We went to the site and we stayed for a few minutes, and we did what we did, and we went on, left the gravesite. But my family went ahead, but I stayed back a couple of extra minutes. And I was thinking about all that has occurred in the last week. And I was thinking about why, after all this time, were there tears in my eyes? And I came to a reality early this morning when I was starting to get out of my sleepy phase. And what I discovered was the thing that has been bothering me all week long. And I won't call it bothering me, but more or less arresting my attention are the words of my childhood pastor, Dr. Booth, when he mentions in his baccalaureate address to the Morehouse College men this year that I've probably watched 15 times this week. The story of Charles Hamilton Houston, who was the professor and the dean of the law school that produced Thurgood Marshall. And when he said to the class that your responsibility and task in whatever your profession is not to become rich. If you're a business major, it's not to become rich in business. For the lawyers who were in his class, the future lawyers that were in his class, it was not to become powerful and successful. But he said to them, your responsibility is to become a social engineer. In other words, one who is prepared to make change in their environment. And that thought has messed with me so much that I could not sleep well last night. Because I wonder not just about me, but I wonder about all of us. Are we people who are intentional about changing our environment? When I thought about my mentally challenged, had some physical issues, the thing that brought tears to my eyes was the fact that here's somebody who lacked the filter to lie. So what you see is what you get. If she liked you, she liked you. If she didn't, she didn't. If the preaching was good, even if she couldn't understand every big word spoken, she got on her feet and moved around the church. And even if you're the world's greatest preacher, if it didn't move her, she would sit on you. But the thing about her life that touched me the most yesterday was the fact that even though she was not like me, completely now educated and everything else, never obtained degrees, never went about trying to say I'm going to pursue a master's, a PhD, all that stuff, she was one that changed her environment. When she prayed, it was simple, but it got to the throne. When she held a child would stop crying in an instant. When she was in the worship experience, there was no way it could stay cold. Changed the environment. And when I think about how the church should be, and then I think about all the people who claim Christ but run at the first sign of trouble. There must be somebody somewhere to address the problem. Yes. I'm called to be the pastor, so I'm going to address the issue. You see, church, we have a hard time trying to convince people to come from time to time. Not because they may not be willing, but because some people have something in them as a hang-up. And they believe, for whatever reason, that they can't come to the house of God with their hang-ups. They can't come into these four walls and find healing for their soul.